Oh, Jason, I'm going live. I'm going live.
Let's do it. I'm going to go live on Facebook too now that we're doing it here. This discussion is worth having live.
All right, world alert here. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, hi. It's the exceptional crew, I guess I want to say. Where is the comments? Okay, maybe somebody.
3, 2, 1, and we are now live on Facebook with Yankee T News and Common Sense News and Entertainment. I'm Jason Douglas here along with Eric Gould and Court Ratnowski for yet another joint edition, and we're getting into it tonight. We're starting off getting into the origins of the Christian Church after the fall of Rome, or no, before that.
My so-called preamble to this, before Eric gets back into it, is that just set the stage. Okay, so I had decided to marry my wife, Kathy. The parents said, "You, young man, who are not a Catholic, will have children raised Catholic, and it will be a Catholic wedding." And I said, "Look, we all believe in Jesus. I'm good with this." Okay, that said, there's this thing called pre-Cana. Do you know what pre-Cana is, Eric?
I'm not familiar with it.
Right. So pre-Cana is, what should we call it? The Catholic version of marriage counseling. So they sit couples down who are about to get married, and the guy just carries on about all the different things that the couples need to think about and how the church approaches marriage. And as I'm sitting here listening to this, I just was getting sicker and sicker because I was realizing I know so little about my own religion. Mm-hmm. So little. Okay. Yeah. So when Eric is explaining the very origins of it, I'm all ears. So take it away, Eric.
Where do you want to start?
The
first century, or
I find this amazing. How is it of all the things that we point to and say, well, here was Jesus, here's his disciples. Okay, they lived out their lives. The others managed to keep spreading the gospel in one way or another. A following was building. You had all the struggles going on in Constantinople. You had all the struggles going on in Rome. But meantime, we want to say where we can point with absolute evidence and proof where the very first Christian church was. Where was it, Eric?
Well, the jury has not been entirely conclusive, but it has been suggested by some scholars that the first Christian church was settled somewhere near Glastonbury, England. I can't remember exactly the name of the little province or town, but the legend, if you...
Yeah, okay. Are you still there? What happened? Did
you freeze? Oh, now you're there. You're back. You froze for about 5 seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
The legend was what?
The legend was that the original Christian church was settled somewhere near Glastonbury, England, in a little province. I can't remember the name of the town.
Yep.
But there were about, I think, 11 who, during the Roman scourge, fled to Western Europe, one of which was Joseph of Arimathea. And that's where they settled the church. Now, in terms of Christianity becoming, I guess, what for all intents and purposes was declared the state religion, that happened about 300 years later under Constantine, who had at the Council of Nicaea, which was in 325 AD. Mm-hmm. And but it was for at least the first couple of centuries, a lot of the bishops were arguing over the divinity of Christ, the concept of the Trinitarian concept of the Godhead, and this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And none of them could really agree. But I mean, to give you sort of the Cliff Notes version of it, there was a consensus to appease the pagans. And so what they did was, and I think, Tertullian, Quintus Septimus Florence Tertullian, and most people call him Tertullian, was averse to the idea of the Trinitas, because he considered it a form of idolatry. And I think it was Praxeas, a man by the name of Praxeas, who had convinced Tertullian. I may be wrong. It was it Praxeas. I can't remember. But Tertullian was initially averse to the concept of that, the concept of the Godhead, or the Trinitarian concept of the Godhead. But someone apparently twisted his arm, and so that's essentially how they got to the Holy Trinity, because they were trying to appease the pagans. Now, if you look at Babylonian teachings, you have Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, and then in an Egyptian mythology, you have Horus, Osiris, and Isis. And so the Trinitarian concept was engrafted, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so what they did was they inferred things from Scripture that sort of allowed them to superimpose the ancient concept of Trinity into the Christian paradigm. And, that's sort of how they got there.
So I have one more for you, Eric. Hinduism. You have.
What about that? And that's where the idolatry comes from, doesn't it?
So all these Eastern religions are predominantly so you have polytheistic.
Out here.
Sorry,
I'm trying to make a point that's helping you out here.
Okay, go ahead.
Their own Trinitarian concept in Hinduism.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, well, you can find concepts of the Trinity, but we're talking about, I mean, Hinduism wasn't really all that prolific in the Middle East. It was mostly, you have the Greek gods, the Roman gods, the Egyptian, and of course the Babylonian. And some of scholars or writers later referred to the Catholic Church as the whore of Babylon. So you can take that for what it's worth. And then there was some very terse language, I think, in one of the original or one of the first English translations of the Bible, where basically it was just really, referring to the the Vatican or the Roman Church as the Great Red Dragon and this sort of thing. I think Queen Elizabeth, one of the translations during her time, had that, but I think she didn't want that in there, and she said, take that language out of there, and that sort of thing. So when you get into some of the later English translations, it stuck to a much more it was impersonalizing the concept of evil as opposed to labeling an institution as evil. So that's eventually where it went. But in the first century, and then leading up to the time of Constantine, I think it was 385 AD, which is when the Catholic Church was actually codified. Now, a lot of people will say that the Catholic Church, that the apostle or the disciple Peter was the first pope. I mean, that's one of the historical allusions to, citing Peter as being the first pope, which to me is kind of a non sequitur, only because when you look at so Jesus said, Peter said to Jesus, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And so Jesus' response to that was, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto me, and upon this rock I will build my church. But in the same chapter, okay, like maybe about, I don't know, 6, 8, or 10 verses later, Jesus rebukes Peter because Peter didn't understand the concept of the prophetic and the providential vision of Jesus' mission. So Jesus was talking about he will be betrayed and, put to death. And Peter was like, "Oh, far be it from thee, Lord. That will never happen to you." And so Jesus' response to that was, "Get thee behind me, Satan, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but of men." So in the same chapter, Jesus acknowledges Peter's recognition of it was Peter's spiritual understanding which was the foundation upon which Jesus would build his church, not the person. And so, you have a quantitative allusion to the concept of church, and then you have a qualitative allusion to the concept of church. And so Jesus was talking about Peter's understanding of what was revealed to him about Christ. And it wasn't the person, it was that which was revealed to him. So Jesus was referring to the quality or condition of thought on which the foundation of church is built, not the personhood of Peter. So and then when you go to the chapter later in that chapter, so Peter was basically in denial about the prophetic vision of Jesus being betrayed, and Jesus basically refers to him as Satan. He calls him, he says, "Get thee behind me, Satan, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but of men." So there was a shift in Peter's thought, you see, going from the beginning of that chapter towards the middle or to the end of that chapter. And so that's what a lot of people don't, that's something that's lost on a lot of people, and particularly a lot of these pundits, these, YouTube pundits that speak extensively. Now, this, of course, is my understanding and based on my understanding of history, or at least my understanding of the Bible. And so some might say, well, you're not a real Christian, and that's not real Christian doctrine. And so when anybody ever wants to argue with me about what Christian doctrine is, I'll say, well, Christian doctrine is not the Stations of the Cross, and it's not the Nicene Creed. The Nicene Creed goes through, I believe, or we believe, we believe, we believe, we believe. But Christian doctrine is codified in what Jesus himself put together in the chapter in Matthew, which we call the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. So those 3 chapters encapsulate Christian doctrine because that's coming directly from Christ, or the teachings of Christ. And so a person who wants to understand or be Christian would defer to what Christ himself actually talks about. And then the next question is well, are those who profess Christ, doing what Christ had admonished them to do? Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, casting out demons, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and so this is where we are. So a lot of people have been led to believe, and this kind of comes out of Catholicism, is that when you confess you offer lip service to a priest, or or a pastor, Father, forgive me for I have sinned, or and then you go into a confessional booth. What a lot of people don't know is confessional booths were actually information gathering nodes for the church. But that's an entirely different subject. But so a person believed that they could be absolved of their sins just by going and confessing to another person. And so then you had this idea that, and I think a lot of there's a cross section of many Protestant faiths that you confess the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, etc., and so forth. So there's this idea that by offering lip service to God, that you're absolved of sin. And but I always say to people, Jesus is not the guy at the bar buying everybody free drinks.
Yeah, see that, all you left wingers that are out there, wreaking havoc and political violence and lying, going and confessing your sins isn't going to cut it.
Well, and but to the point, it's kind of like if your father asks you to do something, like I like Jason, I need my lawn mowed, and I want you to have it done by 3 o'clock, and then you just say, right on, Dad, I got it, like I'll take care of it, and you come back home and the lawn's not mowed. So what you got was lip service,
Yeah.
but he didn't do what he was like asked
Sure.
to do. So it's the same thing. Jesus is asking us to do certain things, and to follow through. This is kind of like you're only as good as your word. Well, your word is only as good as your deed. So words and deeds are not mutually exclusive things.
Of course. Do is just, it's not about what you say, it is about what you do.
Right.
And speaking of what you do, to shift gears a little bit, the Connecticut General Assembly, we have to look at what they're doing right now.
Well,
And something
Indeed.
that would not approve of, nor the Catholics, nor the Protestants, anyone who has a set frame of mind of what they're doing. Let me also mention. Oh, did I mention to you again? I'll shift gears real quick. We're having the debate on May 8th, correct? May 8th, we're having a debate. Now it turns out that WTIC 1080 in Hartford is also now having a debate with Ryan and Betsy, and not Aaron, just like ours.
Wait, when?
The day before, at some stadium place in Farmington that holds 120 people.
Really?
And get this, they're not doing it to delegates, they're doing it to the public, which makes this is nothing to worry about. Our debate's going to be better. This actually helps, I think.
it does. Well, Mark made the point. We just take their information.
So that's so there's going to be a debate on Thursday?
Yes, but get this. They're giving away tickets in pairs of 2 to the public. 60 pairs of tickets of 2 on the radio station as a contest to attend the debate for the public, which is a great idea. But get this. If you win tickets in order to go to the debate, guess what you have to have? The vaccine. They're requiring for you to be eligible for the contest, to go to the debate, that you be vaccinated. Even though we know the vaccine is no good.
Wow.
That's outrageous. I mean,
that
I think
interesting?
Ryan and Betsy should both
Boycott.
should boycott it.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
So I just found this out a couple hours ago. It stinks.
Well, let's see how many.
Is that the
WTIC is putting it on. We're going to call his show. I'm going to be calling his show and ask him about that.
Is this the Thursday debate?
A week from tonight. Ours is a week from tomorrow. So we got to get busy.
Hint.
But yeah, that's interesting. I find that interesting. And this is all popped up now after we did our thing. So they're just trying to.
It's bizarre. I mean, it's self-destructive. I don't see how. Who came? It'd be nice to know who came up with it.
Probably Reese.
Well, COVID came and went. Oh yeah, okay, it's around, but it's so weakened.
Yes,
Non-issue.
it's a non-issue.
But they're making it one. So what the hell is wrong with them?
It's backwards thinking.
It's like
that.
That's like all of that stuff should be in the rear view mirror by now.
Well, the reason why I brought that up right after I talked about the General Assembly real quick is because it does dovetail back to what they're trying to do. They're trying to get everybody vaccinated with something. When we were kids, when I was a kid, there was, I believe, 4 or 5 vaccines that were out there. Now it's like 60.
Yeah.
And they're trying to force it down everybody's throat over there, and at a point of almost a bad science fiction movie level, really.
Yeah. So this is going to be interesting, but I don't know. A part of me is saying that this is something that has to be lampooned and made fun of. But maybe the answer is just let it go. Let it, whatever happens to it, happens to it. And
I imagine a lot of federal lawsuits.
Let it die of its own inertia.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't
look,
think
I'm lucky. I'm self-employed. I'll be one of the last people that can try to get to. Let's talk about them dying down the road trying to tie it to renewing your driver's license. I mean, all kinds of terrible things.
Well, that's what this new bill is all about.
Luckily, I'm not set till 2032. I'll have to worry about that for a while.
Wait, 2032? What?
My license does not expire until 2032. That's right.
Okay, but no, this law that's been signed by Lamont is going to create a system where there'll be an even greater, how should I say this, cross compliance thing going on.
Yeah, with the databases.
Oh, yes, exactly. So it is worse than worse.
You'll never get a vaccine into me. I can promise. I Scout's honor. Never happened to me.
Yeah, what's the other stuff that they're going to do to you? All right, it's going to be the non-compliance. So you get fined. They take away your driver's license. They, even kick you out of your house. Maybe, who knows?
If you don't get vaccinated, oh wow.
So it's
Well,
not,
it's time to go to Guam then.
no. It's not just a vaccination. It's everything. Okay.
What else besides the vaccination?
How about a healthcare check? Okay.
Oh, you have to go to a clinic and be checked on?
Yeah.
Oh.
Whatever they
Force me
want.
into Western medicine? No way.
Hey, it's whatever they want to do. All right. That's the part that's a little hard to follow here.
Right. Anything they want to do to you, right?
Yeah.
What if they say we don't like that you're a waitress. We want you to go work in this office over here.
No, not so.
Well, hey, that's what they did in the Soviet Union. Don't think down the road they couldn't do that. If they can get this much control, they'll continue. Here's what people don't understand: governments don't stop control. Matter of fact, it keeps going all the way to your literal execution.
Correct.
They'll keep going and keep going and keep going. Eventually, they'll round up 3/4 of you and put you in a concentration camp and kill you.
Just like DJ Ricky said, they'll starve you into non-compliance. Yeah, we know that, and vaccines are poison. So look, not to put too fine a point on it, ladies and gentlemen, the issue of vaccines may be a little bit more complicated. So, look, we're going to do I want to prepare for this properly, and we're going to do something special.
The whole show just about this. Yeah, we should.
But just to give you a lead in, it was a book I saw many years ago written by a great biologist named René Dubos. And in this book, he showed charts of how time and time again through the early 1900s, as these new vaccines were developed, what you saw was that the incidence of the disease dropped before the vaccine was administered. Okay? One disease after another. It was the same pattern. And, nobody stopped and said, well, wait a second here. What's going on? That the vaccine doesn't seem to be the explanatory reason for why these cases are dropping.
They're just Connecticut. What's happening is Connecticut is just setting itself up for the next time Democrats can control the White House, and then they can because right now I think we have some federal recourse in this thing, but if we go into another Democratic regime in Washington, that'll be it.
Personally,
and that's when they're really going to come down with everything.
It comes down to revolution. Okay.
Revolution. That's right. It's the only way.
Yeah.
At this point.
So I'm not sure what that's going to look like. What kind of a fight? Are there going to be lawyers? There's going to be a fight to show how this so-called law is unconstitutional. I mean, what can we look forward to here?
We need more people to get involved, more regular people to get involved.
So that's up to you and me, baby.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And that's what CSE part of what CSE is all about.
Well, you got my note about Project Red Hawk, right?
Yes, and we got to talk about the those people that do fundraising for a percentage.
Yes. Well,
we'll talk about them later.
All right. We're on fundraising.
The donor class.
Well, it's
donor class. I know. Here we go. We're gonna create our own donor class now. Okay. But when anybody donates, though, we're gonna have a provision that there's certain parameters. Of course, the money's gonna go to certain things that we say everything that we say we're gonna go to. However, there's got to be a clause in there that says we're not here to do exactly what you tell us to do.
You who?
Whoever the donor is. Whoever's donating money.
Well, that's a lot.
Dictate everything we do, like what goes on in the Republican Party.
Sounds like a little bit of ingratitude there, my boy. A little bit of
ingratitude. Oh,
yes, they give you this money, and then you're going to say, "Screw you! We'll do with it what we want."
No. That's not what I'm saying. We'll do with it what it's designated for, of course. But
Which is it?
You just because you've given this money does not now mean you're sitting at our board and you can now make decisions for the, now you can decide everything we do from now on.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
That level of control that hogs the RNC, right? We can't let that happen.
all right. Well, this is, even though we're on live here, I just want to mention I ran into a guy today. I think I left a message about this guy, didn't I?
You probably did.
But you didn't listen to the message.
Yes, I did. I saw the written. My thing does message to text, so I read some of your message.
Okay. So the point is, this guy is going to show us how to use ChatGPT to accelerate Project Red Hawk.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
It's going to be bigger than it seems. Just
All
saying.
right, I'm interested. Maybe Saturday we can talk about that.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully, well, what I need to do is, I mean, I know that Eric, you've used ChatGPT a lot, right?
Yes, ChatGPT is good for some things. If you're doing like researching news articles and stuff like that, Perplexity is probably better because Perplexity actually, in my opinion, and based on what I understand about what other people have been saying, is that it gives you a lot more accurate information with respect to sourcing news articles. So what you can do is you can compile your source data through Perplexity, and then you can formulate like a thesis or something like that using ChatGPT. I also find that Claude or Anthropic AI is extremely robust for compiling like thesis material, project material, research material, a whole host of other things, including but not limited to even programming and coding and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a variety of different use cases for each platform that will help you. And AI, and that's exactly what AI is. AI, for all intents and purposes, can be an extremely useful tool, or a dangerous master, to put it into to paraphrase George Washington, I think.
Mm-hmm. Right. So what about your video channel? I mean, your YouTube channel for the motorcycles. You said you have 3,000 users on there of subscribers.
About 3,500. Yeah.
So 3,500. Now, have these subscribers been trickling in over the last couple of years?
It's stagnant. It's just basically flat. It's flatlined, only because I've not really been uploading content on the reg. I mean, I'll occasionally, like, some of the stuff that I've uploaded intermittently has brought some of my old audience back. They're kind of like thought that I faded into obscurity, and they're like, "Oh, where have you been?" Yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to trigger the algorithms, you have to not only create content, but you have to get people to like, subscribe, and comment. Those are the three primary components or key components to. In other words, does this the algorithm looks at, is this channel engaging people or isn't it? And if it isn't engaging people, it's going to get filed into a back room on a dusty shelf somewhere, figuratively speaking.
All right, so now you're talking about bringing it back.
Yes, but there's two questions, because that particular channel was geared towards primarily reviewing motorcycles and or riding motorcycles and then talking to yourself. Now, a person who goes to a motorcycle channel is typically somebody who is into motorcycles, wants to ride motorcycles. Some people don't particularly care whether they're probably a person who's interested in watching motorcycle content is probably not the same person who wants to listen to somebody rant on about any given topic.
Mm-hmm.
What I was trying to do was to kind of marry both. And
Well, there's
you
one way
know,
to do it. I know you could have like a week, like a Saturday afternoon, one to as not separate from what you're doing, but as part of CSNE, you could have like a show on Saturday afternoons, like a every motorcycles plus, and then we give people advice on what the best buys at the time are, like just really heavy hitters, like part of the network. So
yeah,
that would
well,
catch people's eye. They'd know, oh, tune in on Saturdays for Eric's show on motorcycles. It's great. And then while you're there, you can pitch whatever come to my check. If you want to know more, check out my YouTube channel. Blah blah blah.
yeah, well, I used to do that. When I started the channel, I would actually go. I would look up all of the specs on scooters and motorcycles, and I would basically just talk about that, and that's all I would do.
Mhm.
And that's really what built the audience. I mean, that was how the foundation. And then I sort of got sidetracked with a lot of the drama that was going on within the motovlogging community.
Mm.
And then because there was certainly a lot of drama within the motovlogging community, a lot of people made a lot of money very quickly because they tracked in a certain direction, but they treated it as a business. I was treating my channel very much as a hobby and not really as a business, and that was largely due to when I was in that station of life, in that station of my life. I had a whole host of other things going on that you know just consumed all of my time.
Mhm.
And so the YouTube channel was sort of an outlet for me to like decompress and kind of get away from all of those things. I was never really seeking to uh like I was just never like 100% gung ho. Yes, I'm going to make YouTube my business. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what I'm going to do. Now, the problem is that if you're going to do YouTube full time and make money at it, you have to treat it as a business. There's no alternative.
Oh
You're
yeah,
either
that's
either
part of
all
the
in
business.
or you're either
Yeah.
all in or you're
That's
not.
why we're a corporation. So now,
Sure.
I look at like one of my visions is a 24-hour, 7-day YouTube channel, and then I think to myself, well, I don't want this isn't just about YouTube; it's about an overall thing. And so maybe YouTube's the basis of it, but using StreamYard, I want to be ultimately on all the social media, and eventually, the ultimate goal is to actually have a cable feed, an actual television feed, streamline feed eventually.
That's Mongo Bucks, buddy.
I know. Well, we got to make the Mongo bucks first.
Yeah, well, see, so when you see
You invest in your company.
people
That's how you do it.
Yeah, so when you see people that are starting off on their YouTube channels, they do a lot of their homework beforehand. In other words, they navigate they go into it's like going into a store and then it's like you're not really buying anything, but you're going into a store and you're walking through all the aisles and looking at everything on the shelf and you're navigating your way around and you're looking at what's in the store and then eventually you'll return to the store and then start like putting things in your shopping cart and buying stuff or whatever. Maybe that's not the best analogy, but um, or learning a skill. But you watch and you learn what other people are doing, and then you sort of take cues. It's like they say, imitation is the best form of flattery, but also copying somebody else's format could also work well for you. Um, and then of course when you do research on like what's the best length of video, like do I do a long form video or do I do short form or do I do both? So YouTube is set up so that
Oh,
you
damn
can
sure.
appeal to a wide array of audiences. The short videos are set up for people that like to doom scroll, like on Instagram or
Of
TikTok
course.
and all that sort of thing. And that's how they developed that short video format. That all came from like TikTok and
Yeah, they actually call them
Instagram, and
shorts, right? There's a
exactly.
lot of them.
So there's that audience. So you're not going to so your long form and what Tucker Carlson does, just to use him as an example, if you've noticed, so he'll have a long form video like an interview that goes an hour and a half, 2.5 hours, or 2 hours and 20 minutes, or whatever it is. And then what they do is they will cut or splice segments. They may even take like a 30-second or a 1-minute segment of a soundbite from that video. They'll put it up in shorts, and those are like teasers. And what that does is that's an interesting thing. And so what that does is that pulls some people and it directs traffic to the long form video.
Right.
So that's kind of a marketing strategy
That's
that's
what this
used.
guy Jason Roth that I watched I watched some guys like Jason Roth and some of the First Amendment auditor guys that do it like that too. And so absolutely learning from what other people are doing is important. I'm doing that my whole life, so now it's time to take action. But
wow. Dr. Ricky Smith is in the house.
Do you have something? What's that? Go ahead.
So you're getting the YouTube stuff too, right?
I can see it in StreamYard.
Yes, me too. So, so DJ Ricky, should we take that seriously here? I mean, because what you have after it is kind of interesting, but if you don't want me to say anything, keep my mouth shut. We await your response. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, that's interesting. In any event, again, all this comes back to the issue of how you make money. Google has set up this monetization plan. Facebook has tried to imitate it. I think X has created its own version, right?
Yeah, the key is not. Yeah, we need money, but I'm not doing it for the money, really. But we still need money. But I'm not doing it for the money.
Well, right. So, like I was starting to say before, a lot of people that originally decided that they were going to start a YouTube channel already had money in the bank, and so what they did was they saw it as an investment. Yes, a lot of people that do YouTube channels had full-time jobs or do YouTube part-time, but they still treat it as a full-time job. Okay. They have a schedule, they have content creation, and they maintain that schedule.
This is what, by the time my first business is my full-time job right now. However, by the end of this year, I plan on this being my full-time job.
I have this feeling you guys are not thinking this through. But that's just me.
As somebody who I mean, look, I have the receipts. I've done it. I know what it takes to actually get to that point. And even to get like your first 100 subscribers is an uphill battle.
Yeah, we're at 66 right now.
For which channel?
My YouTube channel is at 66.
Okay.
But other than doing my podcast with Selena on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I put up these amateur-looking videos of me playing the ukulele or my cat or political editorials and monologues or whatever, and but that's all the effort I put into it. I've done nothing to work with YouTube or I just mess around. I'm messing around, and learning. And I've got 66. It actually jumped from 54 to 66 when we did the interview with Todd Heck last week.
Yeah,
got 12 subscribers from that interview. So and I feel like we've done that without even, I don't feel like I've really even, the company just formed this week. So I haven't put any money into it or anything. I haven't put up a studio. I haven't done anything once I start really putting the pedal to the metal on it.
Yeah.
It's going to start happening because the content is going to be there.
Let me just read off to you some channels. All right. Bear with me. One is Patrick Boyle, 564,000 views. Another one is BBC News, 1.1 million. Another,
I know. A lot of people are a lot successful. I get it.
200. Dr. G Explains, 2.9 million. Okay. Spica-Life, 654,000. Democracy Now, 838,000.
What is your point?
I need to understand how they got there. Part of it is they've been doing it for a long time. Part of it is the points that Eric likes to make over and over again. But I'm just not sure that this has been.
Well, I mean, if you're not sure, then you basically, it's like you experiment. You take it to task. You look at what
YouTube has to like you too, right?
Well, you have to understand that he mentioned BBC. I mean, like the BBC has been around for half a century. Okay. So it's name and brand recognition that they brought into that they already brought to the game.
So there are guys
automatically.
there are guys you and I have never heard of who have even bigger audiences.
Sure.
What do you-
PewDiePie is what, like
Well, I guess what is the
20
point
million
of pointing out we have all these
people?
big people that are around? Like, sure, everybody's trying to do a podcast these days, and there's thousands of them that are way more successful than we are right now. So, what is the point of that? Is that supposed to be discouraging, or supposed to be motivating?
Oh my goodness! Here, I got to do this. I'm sorry.
Because I'm aware of that. It doesn't concern me. My concern is that our CSNE network is excellent, top of the line, and brings forth content that will attract viewers.
Yeah,
Slowly but surely over time, and eventually, I think with social media, it's a mathematical thing.
Jason,
It goes like this, and then when you catch the wave, it goes like this.
Jason, time out.
Yes, sir.
Time out.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Time out like a little boy.
I need to read Mr. DJ Ricky Smith's comments because the way this ends up, I mean, it's instructive. You see it too, Eric, right? What he
Sure.
said? This is unbelievable. Okay, the first part is he talks about how he has a private station that covers Orange, Hampden, New Haven, North Haven, East Haven, parts of Wallingford, and the antenna is down. Oh, wait, it's down right now because of the antenna. So whatever, and he goes on to explain that I built this tower to inform people when the internet goes down. The antenna is higher than Radio Tower Park. That's got to be a big antenna.
And
Okay, all right.
Well, it's also line of sight. I don't know what frequency is he using, AM frequency or VHF.
Okay. Well, whatever it is, it's 5.5
Well,
million.
okay. So when I was in college, we had a 10 watt. We were only 10 watts, a radio station, and we had a reach of 60 miles. We were going or more. We were going reaching all the way to St. Louis Airport from where we were.
Right,
But that's like, you're on the floodplains there, which is relatively flat. So your signal, even at 10 watts, is gonna have reach.
right,
Or
well,
if you have an antenna, like I think where I am right now in town is about 300 feet above sea level.
yeah.
And I think if I put an antenna up on the highest tree, I'd have line of sight all the way to Long Island.
Okay. DJ Ricky
So-
just added that it's an FM station. So if DJ is still on, if you could, how many watts for the FM? What was the range for it, day and night? It's mounted on the highest peak in North Haven. So we probably travel by it and see it all the time. Who knows? Okay. But so what happened, DJ? What happened? I don't understand.
what happened to your antenna?
I mean, so Eric, you want to jump in on this too? I mean, the antenna is mounted on the highest peak in North Haven.
Yeah, it's. I'm just curious in whether. Oh, he's on. Okay, so it's
Read the
FM.
YouTube comments.
I'm reading them.
See, I can't see him.
I know.
FM. The antenna is mounted up at the highest peak in North Haven. Is that like near where the tunnel is?
I think so. Yes. Hopefully the winter. Oh, the winter took it down. All right. Well, that'll slow you
He's
down.
going to have to hike back up there and get it back
There
up.
you go.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't the Democrats for once.
Okay. Oh, and what's the call sign for this station? We'd like to know this too. Anyway, but I mean, this is wild. Okay. Sounds like we do have to have him on so he can really tell his story.
Yes, we do.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so
What else do you want to talk about tonight? You want to talk about Iran for a little bit?
oh wait, he said no.
We got are usually on for an hour. You got about 15 minutes left.
Yeah, we got about 15 minutes or so.
All right. So DJ Ricky, we'll pick up on this right now. I think I'm going to jump in on Iran for a minute. We started to talk about it.
We'll have him on. Let's have him on.
Yeah. All right. It's
Ladies and gentlemen, DJ Ricky Smith.
Here on CSNE.
Reach 95.5 WTPC
course.
FM
a
Elsa.
pirate station. How can you have a pirate station there? I thought the only pirate stations had to be AM 880, and you could broadcast whatever the distance was, and not have to worry about the FCC. I know nothing. I know nothing. Okay.
Excuse me.
All that's
Iran.
Iran. Okay. I think the single most telling comment has been the interchange between Trump and Iran, where he's intending to maintain the blockade, right? That the Iranian government claims that it owns. And in the meantime, we've had the supposed comment from the gay Ayatollah, where he's not bending on anything. They're not going to give him on the nuclear demands. They're not going to give in on their missile program. They're all in on all this stuff. Now, on a totally unrelated note, only because I'm so skeptical about it, there was a video put out by I don't know who, call it the military show, for lack of a better name, claiming, hold on to your hats, that the U.S. military ran a special forces operation near Bandar Abbas, that's the land part near the Hormuz Strait, where there were, wait for it, thousands of centrifuges underground. And they're selling this like this was news. Oh, we discovered a whole other operation with thousands of centrifuges. Dude, I'm having problems with this. You're trying to tell me that you discovered a huge operation underground that we never knew about and we never even bombed it.
The first place we checked.
The first place. This isn't all right. So I'm getting off on this little strip. Right. Meantime, though, you still have this conflict. They're still butting heads. And I tend to calm down only because I think the blockade is working. And you're going to find that the nation of Iran is going to be in deep doo-doo in a rather short period of time.
Yeah, we're talking weeks, not months.
Yeah. So you have all of that. But we still haven't, I mean, the reports about what's happening on the ground from where I sit seem to have almost like disappeared. So I don't know what's going on there. All right.
Well, did our special forces able to take land along the Hormuz shore there, or?
Well, this is it. Special forces are not there to hold territory, okay?
They're there to scout.
Well, it can either be to scout or to go in and destroy. In this case, they purportedly destroyed this huge underground facility. I'm not buying it.
Did we destroy it, or we don't know?
The video will lead you to believe that we destroyed it. Okay.
I'll take that with a grain of salt.
Yes. Well, I do.
Well, I have a family member, an in-law, who's a kind of a left-wing guy, but you wouldn't know it because he's real polite and charismatic or whatnot. Kind of like a Gavin Newsom, but a little bit smarter.
Yes.
And we go back and forth all the time, and we talk about things like Christians being slaughtered in Africa and things like that. And his answer to everything when we have the argument is always, because I'll show him video proof. This is video proof. Well, it could be a fake video. That's his answer every time. It's just a fake video. That's all.
Yes.
Our videos are real, you see. Those that Donald Trump is doing, he's doing them, and they're all fake. So what does a video? Cameras don't lie. It's the people that lie. That's why, Eric, getting back to the network, most of what we're going to be doing is going to be uncut stuff. It's going to be a lot of our, first of all, A to Z Town. Raw video. That's right. And then and that's it. Now, of course, when we're doing a 1 hour show, we're going to edit and splice for that, for actual show content. But when we're doing streamlined video, we're going out and doing auditing. It's raw. Just like Dennis Leary used to say, we'll take a bite right out of the cow. Why bother? So yeah,
but don't forget your coffee either.
Don't lie. It's the people that lie. Numbers don't lie. It's the people that manipulate the numbers that lie. Just like guns don't kill people, it's the people pulling the trigger. It goes on and on.
All right. So right now, the send-off for Iran, as far as I'm concerned, is that they continue to beat their chests and threaten that they're going to do horrible things.
Which is all they got.
And we're waiting.
We're waiting for these horrible. What are these horrible things?
Right. So, but in the meantime, they're
evil.
They're getting, I mean, on the one hand, yes, they're getting weaker and weaker, but just like when we were in Napa, Caspian Sea and Azerbaijan are other routes by which they're still getting supplied.
Not enough.
Yes. And also, by the way, another little tidbit here is that there was a note that approximately 200 nuclear scientists, Russian nuclear scientists, were sent back to Russia.
Oh, good. That's good news.
Well, what were they doing there in the first
What were
place?
they doing there in the first place? It's good news that they're going home.
How long had they been there? What
You
were
know,
they?
and while we're talking about people helping Iran, can we talk about Chris Murphy, our senator from Connecticut, for a minute?
Yeah, we can. I'd say, you know.
Well, a little birdie told me that Gwen Samuel actually helped get him elected, and she's got like total buyer remorse now because he's turned into a
traitor. Like, okay, so if what he did recently, and if you don't know what he's done, was in Spain denouncing the president. He's also been secretly violating the Logan Act, negotiating directly with Iran. Or is he negotiating with them, or is he commiserating with them?
Good question.
Good question. And if this isn't treason, what is?
Mm-hmm. Well,
and if we can't prosecute treason anymore,
again, it's hair splitting. It's hair splitting. But
we don't have a country.
We're technically
right. Yeah,
we're not formally at war with Iran. So treason only applies when we're formally at war.
Well, no, wait a minute now. You told me that that's true, but then there are instances where people can be prosecuted for treason in peacetime as well.
Sedition. Okay,
sedition. Then.
And the cases of people who were spying on this country for other countries who were put in jail, the information that they shared with the other country is a form of giving aid to the enemy. But it's like, wait a second, is Israel our enemy? You know, yeah.
Chris Murphy's a traitor. I don't know whether it's going to stick in a court of law or not.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Well, he is. All right.
We are at war with Iran. I know it's not technically declared war by Congress, but we are at all intents and purposes in an armed conflict.
Interrupting again, but I have to remind you, we used to do something, and Eric sat through these every week for the last 2 years. We did Connecticut Commie of the Week. Okay?
Like that?
Yes. Senator Murphy was on the list. And not only was he on the list, but he had people working for him who were card-carrying communists. All right? He doesn't have to be a member of the Communist Party, but he shares communist beliefs.
Like Dami out of New York, he's not technically a communist, but he sure as hell is.
Yeah, but all this.
Well, right, but you know, who I would really like to have a conversation with would be Trevor Loudon. Is it Trevor Loudon? I think.
Yes, Trevor Loudon.
He's a wellspring of knowledge on the subject of how communism has really festered, been allowed to fester and grow in the state of Connecticut.
Oh, the world.
And but yes, but if you particularly Connecticut and I just find it peculiar, like a lot of New England states, Massachusetts, gosh, I think they're a little further along, but I understand that they're really in serious financial trouble right now. Massachusetts is.
Yeah. Well, they probably ought to be. They probably are, because they're charging people $25 now just to contest their parking tickets, so their speeding tickets. Which is a violation of the
I don't understand. It's like, what is, where, like, you feel like you're living in bizarro world. I mean, and the EverSource bills are out of control. Then they install all of these these speed cameras, and it's just like they just take and take and take and take. How much is enough?
Mm-hmm.
How much is enough? And this is why people don't want. This is why people. This is why people A, don't want to vote anymore, and B, don't want to live in states like this anymore. Now, if you've already, and some people have asserted that it's a lot of the boomer generation is holding on to like a lot of their wealth, and can afford to stay and live in these places. But generation, what is it? The millennial generation and Gen Z. I mean, they're screwed. They've been, and Gen X is trying to, I think the latter part of Gen X has been trying to make amends with, or making inroads at trying to right the wrongs of our generation. Mm-hmm. But it seems to be that, there is a somewhat of a consensus, I would say, that it's the boomer generation that has put us behind the eight ball. And so if you look at the people that are currently occupying the positions of power, Governor, well, I think Gavin Newsom would
He's
probably
already
be the outlier.
made.
Well, he's Gen X, I think. And then, but you look at Kathy Hochul, or you look at the governor of Maine, you look at the governor of Connecticut. I think, and then of course, I don't know who's the governor of Massachusetts anyway, or Rhode Island, but they're,
Starts with a G, I think.
yeah,
Giordano.
yeah. So if you look at, where they are, and it's like the policies that they've been sanctioning have just been extremely punitive to their population.
Yeah.
And so I guess part of it's like, okay, so Ned Lamont's policies are multifold. They've chased big businesses out of the state, and as a consequence of that, he's had to make up the losses by taxing the people in the state of Connecticut more. So where is the logic in all this? And don't even get me started on, like, Ryan Fazio is an okay guy. I don't really have my issue with him is he voted with the Democrats on two key points, bills. I don't have them in front of me, but the whole offshore wind thing, he voted with the Democrats on that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's talking about that, but I certainly hope it comes up at the debates.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also voted to fund, what was it? Illegals with, I can't remember what it was, medical stuff or whatever it was. I think he co-signed on some of that stuff as well. I mean, Ryan Fazio is not the conservative people think that he is.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is why I think that, well, let's just face it. I mean, politicians are irrespective of who they are or what party they're in. I would say most of them are, I hate to say it, but self-serving. That's just a fact,
Sure.
So
let me just throw some stuff from DJ Rick again. He used to listen to our Connecticut Comedy of the Week segment. Well, thank you, DJ Ricky. And then he makes a point that, yes, Connecticut is a digital prison without walls. And as we're talking about economics, kiss all your 401ks goodbye if it keeps going this way. Yeah, I don't know about that. I see some tricks ahead for dealing with that 39.
At least we're tied in nationally with the 401ks.
Yeah, oh God, where do we start with this? Look, as an example, all right, we've been worried about BRICS. Anybody know what I'm talking about when I say BRICS?
Not really.
Okay.
Plead the fifth.
It's the countries that originally got together and said, we're going to come up with an alternative medium of exchange to the US dollar to settle international trade. And BRICS refer to Brazil, Russia, China, India, and South Africa. Okay, those are the original members. A number of Mideast countries decided to join in as well. So the number of countries that are interested in competing with the dollar by coming up with an alternative currency kept growing. And some people were worried that this could be a threat. But what does our U.S. Treasury Secretary do? Does anybody remember currency swaps?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Yes, I do.
Okay, this was in the news recently. It started with UAE because they're asking for financial help because of all of the stuff in their economy that's been destroyed. But now this program has been extended to several other Gulf countries. All right? Well, guess what so what it does is it brings back the petrodollar regime, which was supposed to have died a long time ago, by the way. But what does it also do? It puts a slamma jamma on bricks. All right.
All right.
Totally kills any idea that they're going to come up with an alternative currency. So as far as this is concerned, I mean, you were looking at this and saying, well, it's putting America in more debt. But you know what? Now these countries become beholden to America, not somebody else. So for that, it's a good idea.
Well, with that, gentlemen, I think we're ready to call it for a night. You guys, anything else you want to wrap up with real quick before we go?
No,
Well,
I think, well, thank you for
have-
tuning in to Yankee T News
Whoa.
with your erstwhile host,
wait a
Clark
minute.
Rotnowski.
Stop. I
Hurry, because I got to go poopy.
have a question. You got to go poopy.
Too much information.
All right. No, this is very simple. It's for the audience, for everybody. Who, among all the presidents we ever had, was born in an urban setting?
Teddy Roosevelt.
You may find out that was not true. He'd be the only possible person. Other than that, the only other person who's been born in an urban setting would have been Trump,
Yeah, New York City.
born in Queens.
You're right. Good point.
So this is another thing. We got to think about what's he all about. If he's the only one of a barely a handful who were born in an urban setting to go on to become president. Okay, this is something to think about.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right, everybody. It's another good show as usual. We'll see you tomorrow night
All right,
for Common Sense News and Entertainment and Yankee T News.
guys.
God bless Connecticut. God bless America. Good night, everybody.